Merrick Thornfield's heart had beaten 2.7 billion times over 71 years for his wife's first kiss, his children's first breaths, 50 years of I love yous. But when it stopped for 53 seconds on that operating table, the silence revealed a truth more painful than death. His family had been counting down those heartbeats like a timer on their inheritance. The fluorescent lights above Merrick Thornfield's hospital bed flickered like dying stars. At 71, he'd spent 50 years building a life in Nashville, Tennessee, a construction empire from nothing, a home overlooking Percy Priest Lake, 2 college funds emptied for his children. Now, tubes snaked from his chest as machines sang their electronic requiem. "Mr. Thornfield, we're taking you into surgery now," Dr. Nakamura's voice cut through the morphine haze. "Is your family here?" Merrick's weathered hand trembled as he held his phone. 3 unread messages glowed on the screen. Celinda, wife. "The insurance papers are in the desk drawer, second one down." Braylon, son. "Dad can't make it, big presentation tomorrow, you understand." Katya, daughter. "Good luck, or whatever. BTY, is the Gatlinburg cabin in my name yet?" 51 years of marriage. 28 years since Braylon's first steps, 25 since Katya's first piano recital at the Grand Ole Opry. All those Little League games at Centennial Park, dance rehearsals at the Nashville Ballet, anniversary dinners at the Hermitage Hotel where he'd surprised Celinda with roses even when money was tight. It all condensed into these 3 cold messages. "They're on their way," he lied, his voice cracking. Nurse Esperanza, who'd been adjusting his IV, paused. Her knowing eyes met his. She'd seen this before, the loneliness that hospitals reveal like X-rays expose fractures. She squeezed his shoulder gently. "You're not alone, Mr. Thornfield. We're your family today." As they wheeled him toward the OR, Merrick's mind drifted to last week's family dinner. Celinda had spent it scrolling through her phone, occasionally asking about his life insurance policy. Braylon had left early, another emergency at work. Katya hadn't even shown up, texting that she was at a wine tasting in Franklin with friends. "Count backwards from 10, the anesthesiologist said, mask descending. 10. The Christmas he'd worked 3 jobs to buy Braylon that bike. 9. Katya's wedding at Cheekwood Gardens where he danced with her to butterfly kisses while she texted over his shoulder. 8. Celinda's first I love you whispered on the pedestrian bridge 50 years ago. 7. The mortgage he'd refinanced to pay for Celinda's shopping addiction at Green Hills Mall. 6. The heart attack warning 3 months ago that everyone dismissed as dad being dramatic. 5. The business he'd refused to sell because he wanted to leave it to Braylon. 4. The silence in his house that had grown louder each year. 3. The photo in his wallet. A family trip to Dollywood where everyone looked happy. The last time they'd all smiled together. 2015. 2. A strange warmth spreading through his chest. 1. The flatline scream. For 53 seconds, Merrick Thornfield was clinically dead. His heart, worn out from carrying everyone else's burdens, simply stopped. The surgical team worked with desperate precision, Dr. Nakamura's hand steady despite the sweat on his brow. "Come on, Merrick, your family needs you." But in that darkness between worlds, Merrick saw something that would change everything. Not a white light or departed relatives, but a crystal-clear vision of his hospital room, empty except for Esperanza checking his chart, while in his house in Belmead, Celinda was on the phone with a realtor. Braylon was updating his LinkedIn to say CEO of Thornfield Construction, and Katya was trying on his late mother's jewelry. When his heart finally stuttered back to life, when the monitors sang their electronic hallelujah, Merrick Thornfield returned as someone entirely different. Someone who finally understood that love shouldn't require you to die to be noticed. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe. Every day, someone's parent lies alone in a hospital bed, forgotten. Don't let their stories go untold. Hit that button. It costs nothing but means everything. 3 days. That's 4,320 minutes. 259,200 seconds. Merrick Thornfield counted every one from his hospital bed.
waiting for just one of them to include his family, walking through that door. The man next to him had 47 visitors. Merrick had 47 unanswered texts asking about money, not one asking if he could breathe without machines. 3 days, 72 hours since Merrick's chest had been cracked open like a wishbone, his heart literally held in another human's hands. The cardiac ICU at Vanderbilt Medical Center hummed with purpose. Every beep, every whisper, every footstep a testament to life fighting to continue. But in bed 7, Merrick Thornfield lay studying the ceiling tiles, counting the holes. 2,847. He'd counted them 6 times. "Good morning, Mr. Thornfield." Esperanza entered with uncommon brightness for someone working her 14th hour. "How's our miracle man today?" Miracle. That's what Dr. Nakamura had called him. 53 seconds without a heartbeat. Triple bypass. 2 valve repairs. A surgery that had taken 11 hours instead of the planned 6 because of complications. "Any visitors today?" Merrick asked, though he already knew the answer. Esperanza's smile faltered for just a moment. "Let me check the log." She made a show of looking at her tablet, though they both knew it was empty. "Your son called. Said he'd try to stop by after work." Try. Brayman lived in Brentwood, 12 minutes away. "That's nice," Merrick whispered, his throat still raw from the ventilator. The man next to him, Eugene, snorted. "My kid said the same thing 3 days ago. Try. Like visiting your old man after heart surgery is optional, like returning a library book." Eugene's wife had been there every day, knitting in the corner, reading him newspaper articles about the Titans. She stepped out for coffee, but her presence lingered. A half-finished crossword, reading glasses, the indent in the visitor's chair. Merrick's phone buzzed. His hands, still shaky from the medication, fumbled to reach it. "Celinda. Doctor says you're stable. I'm at book club in Franklin. Made your favorite casserole. It's in the freezer." Kiss emoji. A casserole. His chest, held together with wire and prayer, ached with something deeper than surgical trauma. She'd made a casserole. Not visited, not held his hand, not asked how it felt to die and come back. A casserole. He typed back, "I died for 53 seconds. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Celinda. Don't be so dramatic, Merrick. The doctor said you're fine now." Fine. Merrick looked at the compression stockings squeezing his legs to prevent clots. The catheter he'd finally convinced them to remove this morning. The spirometer he had to breathe into every hour to prevent pneumonia, each breath feeling like swallowing glass. Fine. Another text. Katia. "Dad, I need $3,000 for my life coaching certification. It's really important for my spiritual journey. You always said to follow our dreams." His spiritual journey to death's door apparently didn't merit a visit, but her certification couldn't wait. "Mr. Thornfield?" Dr. Nakamura entered, chart in hand. "Excellent progress. Your numbers are improving. Any pain?" "Just the usual," Merrick lied. The real pain couldn't be measured on their 1 to 10 scale. "Your family picking you up tomorrow for discharge?" Tomorrow? Merrick hadn't even known. Yes, of course." Dr. Nakamura paused, studying him with the same intensity he'd probably studied Merrick's angiogram. "Mr. Thornfield, recovery isn't just physical. You need support at home. Real support. Someone to help with medications, watch for complications, drive you to follow-ups." "I'll be fine," Merrick echoed his wife's word. After Dr. Nakamura left, Esperanza returned with his lunch tray. Cardiac diet. No salt, no flavor, no joy. She sat on the edge of his bed, a violation of probably 16 protocols. "You know what I've learned in 20 years of cardiac nursing," she said softly. "The hearts that heal fastest aren't the youngest or strongest. They're the ones with something to heal for. Someone. You need to find your reason, Mr. Thornfield." That afternoon, Merrick watched the other patients' families stream in. The Johnsons in 314, 4 generations crowding around their patriarch. The Nguyen's in 316, teenagers who clearly didn't want to be there, but came anyway, homework spread across the visitors' table. Even cranky Eugene had his poker buddies sneak in with contraband barbecue from Martin's. At 6:47 p.m., Braylon finally appeared in the doorway. Suit impeccable, phone in hand, Bluetooth flashing in his ear. "Hi, Dad. Can't stay long. How are you feeling?" "Like I died. Like I came back to find my life was already being divided up. Like I'm a ghost in my own existence." "Better," Merrick said. Braylon nodded, already checking his phone. "Good, good. Hey, about the business, I've been thinking about modernization, new contracts, efficiency systems. We could triple profits if—" "Braylon." "Yeah?" "I was dead for 53 seconds. His son looked up, irritation flashing across his features. "Dad, you're being dramatic?" Merrick finished. "Maybe I'm just finally awake." Still watching? Your commitment to this story means more than you know. Real families are falling apart in hospital rooms right now. If this story moves you, please hit subscribe and share. Sometimes a story is all we have to remind us what truly matters.
After 53 seconds of death and 11 hours of surgery, Merrick Thornfield came home to find his family had already divided his life like vultures over roadkill. His office was now a yoga studio, his grandfather's war medals were on eBay, and his recliner, where he'd held his babies, was already at Goodwill. They just forgot he was still breathing. The Uber driver, Darius, helped Merrick up the 17 steps to his front door. Each step felt like climbing Lookout Mountain in bedroom slippers. The key trembled in his hand, the same key he'd carried for 31 years, to the same door he'd painted Smoky Mountain Mist every 5 years, to the same house he'd almost lost 3 times keeping his family comfortable. "You sure you're okay, sir?" Darius asked, genuine concern creasing his face. "Someone meeting you?" Merrick nodded, though the lie sat heavy on his tongue. Darius had shown more care in a 12-minute ride from Vanderbilt than his family had in 12 days. The door opened to silence, not peaceful silence, the aggressive kind that meant Celinda was at her spin class at the Belmead Country Club, the new one that cost $200 a month. The house smelled different. Eucalyptus where there used to be coffee. Essential oils where bacon when sizzled on Sunday mornings. His recliner was gone. The brown leather lazy-boy where he'd watched Braylon's first steps, where Katja had curled up during thunderstorms, where he dozed after 16-hour workdays, replaced by a white meditation cushion. "Celinda?" His voice echoed through rooms that suddenly felt foreign. The kitchen counter held mail sorted into neat piles, bills, his to pay, catalogs, hers to browse, and a sticky note. "Merrick, dinner in fridge, don't wait up, Celinda." He climbed the stairs to his den, his sanctuary, the one room that held his father's tools from the TVA dam projects, his achievement plaques, the signed baseball from when he'd taken Braylon to his first Sounds game. The door was open. Inside, mirrors lined the walls. A ballet bar stretched across where his desk had been. His books, first editions of Cormac McCarthy, signed James Patterson novels, his grandfather's Bible from the Battle of Shiloh, were boxed in the corner, labeled Donate, in Celinda's looping script.
Merrick sank onto the yoga mat that covered his Persian rug, the one he'd bought in Istanbul on their 25th anniversary. His chest seized. Not cardiac this time, just the regular kind of heartbreak. His phone buzzed. A text from Katja. "Dad, saw your truck's not in the garage. Did you finally sell it? I could really use a new one. The BMW's making weird noises." His truck. Merrick looked out the window. His Ford F-150, the truck he had driven for 8 years, was indeed gone. In its place sat Celinda's new Tesla, pristine white like everything else she'd claimed recently. Another text, this one from Braylon. "Dad, found some irregularities in the business accounts. We need to talk about modernizing the whole operation. I've scheduled a meeting with potential buyers." Buyers. For the business Merrick had built with his bare hands, that still had sawdust from his first job site in East Nashville in the corners of the warehouse. The front door opened downstairs. Celinda's voice, but not to him. On the phone, always on the phone. "No, Jennifer, he's fine, dramatic as always. You know Merrick. The surgery went perfectly. He's practically back to normal." Normal. Merrick touched the incision down his chest, still angry red beneath the bandages. Practically normal. She appeared in the doorway, Lululemon perfect, face frozen in practiced surprise. "Merrick, you're home. Why didn't you call?" "I texted 3 times. She waved dismissively. "You know I don't check my phone during me time. How are you feeling? You look good." He looked like death warmed over, and they both knew it. 15 pounds lost, skin gray as winter sky over the Smokies, hands that still shook when he tried to button his shirt. "Where's my chair?" "Oh, that old thing. It was falling apart. I donated it. The Feng Shui expert said it was blocking energy flow." "Where are my books?" "Honey, they were so dusty, bad for your recovery. I'm having them appraised. Some might be worth something." Each word landed like a small betrayal. She moved through his space, her space now, adjusting crystals on the windowsill where his father's bronze star used to sit. "I need to rest," Merrick said. "Of course. Your bed's all made up. Fresh sheets. Oh, and Merrick?" She paused at the door. "The lawyer called about updating the will. Something about medical directives. We should probably handle that soon. You know, just in case." Just in case he died properly this time. That night, Merrick lay in bed listening to Celinda's white noise machine. She'd replaced our fan with something that sounded like Tibetan singing bowls. His pills sat in a neat row on the nightstand, each one keeping him alive for a family that had already moved on. At 2 a.m., he crept downstairs and found his recliner in the garage, next to bags of his clothes marked for Goodwill. He sat in it among the detritus of his former life, crying for the first time since his father's funeral at the National Cemetery 20 years ago. The chair still smelled like him, like Old Spice and sawdust and 20 years of evening newspapers. It still held the shape of him, even if nothing else in this house did. If you've made it this far, you understand what it's like to feel erased in your own life. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Every subscription tells stories like Merrick's, reminding us that we're not alone in our darkest moments. Don't scroll past. Merrick wouldn't. The combination to the safe was his daughter's birthday, the daughter who hadn't visited him once. Inside, Merrick found 3 documents dated before his surgery, an appraisal of his life's worth, a timeline for selling it, and a sticky note in his wife's handwriting that said, "Finally free." She'd spelled out his death before his heart had even stopped. Tuesday morning, 5:47 a.m. Merrick couldn't sleep. Hadn't really slept since coming home 4 days ago. The pain medication made him foggy, but not restful, like being drunk without the mercy of unconsciousness. He made his way to his home office, now Celinda's yoga studio, to find his will. Dr. Nakamura had been clear. Update your directives, ensure your wishes are known. The safe was behind what used to be his father's portrait from the TVA days, now replaced with a mandala. The combination, Katya's birthday, still worked. Inside, between his father's Purple Heart from Korea and his mother's wedding ring, lay 3 documents that shouldn't exist. The first, a comparative market analysis for their house, dated January 3rd, 2 days before his surgery. Celinda's signature on the request form. Estimated value, $3.2 million. A sticky note in her handwriting. List immediately after. Finally free. The second, a formal business valuation for Thornfield Construction. Braylon's name as the requesting party. Dated December 28th. A buyout offer from Apex Development Group. $5.7 million. A handwritten note in the margin. Dad won't last long enough to refuse. The third made Merrick's reconstructed heart skip. A life insurance payout worksheet. His policies totaling $4 million. Distribution scenarios, tax implications. Dated January 2nd. The beneficiary changes submitted online January 4th, while he was dying on the operating table. Merrick sank to the meditation cushion, papers trembling in his hands. They hadn't just neglected him. They'd been planning for his death, banking on it. His phone, charging in the corner where his desk used to be, lit up with a text from Katya. "Dad, can we talk about the Gatlinburg cabin? Mom says you're being weird about the transfer paperwork." The cabin in Gatlinburg. His father had built it with his own hands in 1959, after returning from Korea, where Merrick had proposed to Celinda, where Braylon caught his first fish, where Katya had gotten married in a ceremony that cost more than the cabin originally had. Another text from Braylon. "Dad, we need to discuss succession planning. Your little medical episode shows we need proper structure." Little medical episode? He heard Celinda stirring upstairs. Her 6 a.m. routine was sacred. Lemon water, meditation, Peloton. He quickly photographed the documents and returned them to the safe, his hands steadier than they'd been since surgery. Anger, he discovered, was excellent medicine. He was sitting at the kitchen table, pretending to read The Tennessean when she descended in designer athletic wear. "Morning, honey. You're up early. Everything okay?" "Just couldn't sleep, the medications." She nodded absently, already focused on her phone. The lawyer called again, about the will. "I'll handle it." She looked up sharply. "Don't you think we should do it together? As a family? Like we did the surgery?" The words hung between them like a scalpel. Celinda's face cycled through emotions: surprise, calculation, practiced concern. "Merrick, you're clearly still recovering, not thinking straight. Maybe you should rest." "I've been resting for 51 years, Celinda." She left for spin class without her usual goodbye kiss. Alone, Merrick called the one person he knew would give him straight answers: Esperanza, the cardiac nurse who'd slipped him her number on discharge. "In case you need anything." "Esperanza, it's Merrick Thornfield." "Mr. Thornfield, how's the recovery?" "I need to ask you something, off the record. On January 4th, during my surgery, did anyone call to check on me?" A pause. "Let me think. No, Mr. Thornfield. I remember because I kept checking the visitor log. Dr. Nakamura asked about next of kin several times during complications. We had no one to update." "Complications? You don't know?" Your heart stopped twice on the table. Once for 53 seconds, once for 28. Dr. Nakamura called it the fight of his career. We tried reaching your emergency contacts. "And?" "Your wife said she was at an important appointment. Your son said to call back with updates. No one came, Mr. Thornfield. I'm sorry." He thanked her and hung up. He sat in his kitchen, the one he'd renovated by hand, where he'd taught both kids to make buttermilk biscuits, where Celinda had once danced with him to Patsy Cline while dinner burned, and made a decision. He called his lawyer, his real lawyer, not the family friend Celinda preferred. "Harrison, Merrick Thornfield, I need to see you today, privately. Yes, it's about the will. No, don't call the house. Harrison, bring information about charitable donations, specifically complete estate transfers." By noon, Merrick had scheduled 3 appointments: his lawyer, his accountant, and a realtor, not for selling, but for understanding exactly what his family had been planning to do with his life's work. That evening, dinner was silent. Celinda pushed salad around her plate. Braylon had actually shown up, laptop open beside his plate, reviewing contracts. Katya was there too, unusual for a Tuesday, picking at her phone with one hand and her food with the other. "So," Celinda said finally, bright as artificial sweetener, "the will?" Merrick looked at each of them, his wife of 51 years, his son who had his eyes, his daughter who had his mother's smile. Strangers, all of them. "I'm handling it." "When?" Braylon pressed. "Soon." "Defined soon," Katya added, not looking up from her phone. Merrick stood, his incision pulling. "The same kind of soon you all meant when you promised to visit me in the hospital." He left them at the table and climbed the 17 steps to his bedroom. Each step felt like a victory. Tomorrow he would change everything. But tonight he would mourn the family he thought he had, the love he'd imagined, the life he'd built for people who were already spending his death benefits. This story is about to take a turn that will shake you to your core. If you believe that loyalty should be earned, not assumed, subscribe now. Share this with someone who needs to know they're not alone, because what happens next, it changes everything. Don't miss it. At 10:47 a.m., in a law office overlooking the Cumberland River, Merrick Thornfield signed away $9 million, his entire life's work. But he wasn't losing anything. He was buying his dignity back from a family that had sold theirs the moment his heart stopped beating. Thursday morning, 10:47 a.m., rain hammered Nashville, turning Broadway into a river of neon reflections. Merrick sat in his lawyer's office downtown holding a manila folder like it contained the nuclear codes to his own life. Harrison Blackwater had been Merrick's lawyer for 32 years. He'd seen him through business disputes, tax audits, and Katya's DUI in Williamson County that they'd kept out of the papers. But he'd never seen him like this. Gray-faced, but determined. Eyes burning with something beyond betrayal. "Merrick, you look like hell." "I died, Harrison. 53 seconds. You'd think that would matter to them." Merrick slid the folder across the mahogany desk. Harrison's expression shifted from concern to shock as he reviewed the documents, the real estate listing, the business valuation, the insurance worksheets. "Jesus Christ, Merrick. I planned it all while I was dying. Braylon's already got buyers lined up for the company. Celinda's been meeting with real estate agents. Katya..." His voice cracked. "Katya asked about her inheritance while I was still on oxygen." Harrison leaned back, lawyer face replacing friend face. "What do you want to do?" "I want them out. Everything. Every penny, every property, every stock option. All of it." That's $9 million, Merrick. Your entire estate." "I know what I built, Harrison." "Where do you want it to go?" Merrick pulled out a brochure from the Middle Tennessee Heart Foundation. Esperanza had mentioned them. They provided support for heart patients without families, funded research, paid for medications when insurance wouldn't. All of it? Every damn cent. For 2 hours they restructured Merrick's entire legacy. The will was ironclad. Harrison made sure of that. Trusts were dissolved. Beneficiaries were changed. A letter was drafted, to be read upon his death, explaining why. "Merrick, they'll contest this." "Let 'em. I'll be dead. And the foundation will have better lawyers than they can afford without my money." That afternoon, Merrick visited Thornfield Construction in Madison, his company, his baby. The warehouse smelled like sawdust and possibility, same as it had in 1979 when he'd signed the lease with his last $1,000. Dimitri, his foreman for 20 years, nearly dropped his coffee. "Boss, what are you doing here? You just had surgery." "I needed to see it." They walked through the warehouse, past the equipment he'd bought piece by piece, past the wall of photos from job sites, schools they'd built, homes they'd restored, the children's wing at Monroe Corral they'd constructed at cost because it was the right thing to do. "Dimitri, if something happens to me, I want you to know, you've been more of a son to me than..." Well, you know. Dimitri's eyes filled. Boss, don't talk like that. I'm changing things. The company. If I die, it's going to be sold, but not to Apex. The proceeds will go to charity, but there's going to be a fund. For the workers, for their families. 2 million, separate from the sale. Boss, you've earned it. All of you. 30 years of Saturdays, 30 years of building dreams for other people. That evening, Merrick returned home to find his family in the living room, staged, like an intervention. Celinda had her concerned face on. Braylon had printed spreadsheets. Katya had actually put her phone down. Merrick, we need to talk, Celinda began. About? Your behavior. Since the surgery, you're not yourself. I'm exactly myself, for the first time in 50 years. Braylon jumped in, corporate smooth. Dad, we're worried about your mental capacity. The surgery, the medication, it can affect judgment. My judgment? You're being erratic, secretive. Mom says you went to see Harrison Blackwater alone. Since when is handling my own affairs erratic? Katya finally spoke, crocodile tears ready. Daddy, we love you. We just want what's best for everyone. Everyone. The family, Dad. Our future. Your legacy. He looked at them. Really looked. When had Celinda's face become so hard? When had Braylon's eyes lost their warmth? When had Katya learned to cry on cue? Your legacy, Merrick repeated. You want to know about my legacy? He pulled out his phone and showed them a photo. This is Joaquin Martinez. He was in cardiac ICU with me. 28 years old, 3 kids, no insurance. His family was there every day, sleeping in chairs, praying in the chapel. His wife sold her wedding ring to help with bills. They loved him, you see. Actually loved him. Not his money, not his house, not his business. Him. Merrick, Celinda started. I've made my decision about the will. It's done. Legally, completely. What decision? Braylon's voice sharp now, executive mask slipping. You'll find out when I'm dead. Really dead. Not just 53 seconds worth. He stood to leave. You can't do this, Katya shrieked. Real tears now. We're your family. Merrick turned at the doorway. No, you are my dependents. There's a difference. That night, Merrick moved into the guest room. He could hear them through the walls. Celinda on the phone with her lawyer. Braylon researching power of attorney. Katya sobbing to her friends about her cruel father. He didn't care. For the first time in decades, Merrick Thornfield fell asleep at peace. His heart, scarred but still beating, had finally learned the difference between being used and being loved. Right now, someone's father is lying in a hospital bed wondering if anyone truly cares. If this story speaks to you, please subscribe and share. Not for me, but for every Merrick out there who needs to know that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. The next chapter will break your heart and remake it. Don't look away.
The movers Merrick's family hired didn't know they were robbing a dying man. They thought they were helping a nice family downsize. But when Merrick walked in to find them carrying out his father's war chest, the one that held a folded flag from 2 wars, something in him broke, and something else was reborn. Sunday morning had been perfect. Merrick had completed his first full cardiac rehab session at St. Thomas Hart, 8 blocks walked on the treadmill, his longest since surgery. The physical therapist, Maria, had tears in her eyes, seeing him upright. Mr. Thornfield, you're a miracle. The whole team's been praying for you. The whole medical team, not his family. He'd stopped at Frothy Monkey in 12 South, where Beth, the owner, actually hugged him. Merrick, we've had your photo on our prayer wall since January. The whole neighborhood's been asking. The whole neighborhood. Still not his family. Merrick returned home at 11:47 a.m. to 3 cars in his driveway, Celinda's Tesla, Braylon's BMW, Katya's Audi, and a 2-man and a truck vehicle.
The front door was open. Inside was controlled chaos. Boxes everywhere. Katya in his den pulling books from shelves, Braylon in the living room photographing artwork, Celinda directing movers, actual movers, who were carrying out his father's war chest down the stairs. What the hell is going on? Everyone froze. Celinda recovered first. Ice Queen smooth. Merrick, you're back early. This is my house. Our house, she corrected. Community property. And since you're being unreasonable about the will, we're protecting our interests. By stealing? Braylon stepped forward, lawyer voice activated. It's not stealing, Dad. We're documenting assets for the inevitable proceedings. Proceedings? Mental competency, undue influence, elder abuse, possibly, depending on who's been talking to you. Katya appeared with his first edition Faulkner collection. Daddy, just tell us what you've done. We can fix this, as a family. Merrick's chest tightened. Not cardiac, just rage. Pure, clean rage. Put everything back. Or what? Celinda challenged. You'll call the police? I'm your wife. These are your children. We have rights. Rights. He pulled out his phone, started recording. Say that again, about your rights to my father's war chest, to my mother's china, to books I bought with money I earned while you were spending it faster than I could make it? Celinda slapped the phone from his hand. It clattered across the hardwood, still recording. You always were dramatic, Merrick. Weak. If you'd been half the man my father was. Your father died at 52 from a heart attack in his secretary's apartment. I know, Celinda. I've always known. Just like I know about the credit cards you hid, the affair with your tennis instructor, the money you've been moving to an account in your maiden name. Silence. Even the movers had stopped. Get out, Merrick said quietly. All of you, now. You can't, Braylon started. It's my house. Only my name on the deed. Check your documentation, counselor. Your mother insisted on that during the last refinance. Thought she was protecting herself from my risky business ventures. Celinda's face went white. She'd forgotten. 1 hour, Merrick continued. Take your clothes, your personal items, nothing else, or I call the police in Channel 5. Family robs a cardiac patient. Has a nice ring. Katya started crying, real tears this time. Daddy, please! I'm your little girl. My little girl disappeared years ago. You're 34, Katya. Time to grow up. They left like refugees from their own greed. Celinda with 2 suitcases and a glare that could freeze the Cumberland, Braylon with his laptop and a threat about lawsuits, Katya with her yoga mat and a wail about her trust fund. Merrick stood in his emptied house surveying the damage. Gaps on walls where pictures had hung, shelves disheveled, his father's war chest abandoned in the hallway, scarred from their carelessness. He called Dmitri. I need your help. And bring Joaquin and Louis. I'll pay overtime. They spent the afternoon putting his house back together. Not just the furniture, the dignity. Dimitri's wife Rosa appeared with hot chicken and fussed over Merrick's medications. Joaquin's kids ran through the house, their laughter filling spaces that had been silent for years. Mr. Thornfield, Joaquin said quietly, helping him move the war chest back. Family isn't always blood, you know. That evening, Merrick sat in his father's chair, retrieved from the garage, in his den, books back on shelves, eating Rosa's hot chicken with too much spice, but he didn't care. His phone had 47 missed calls. Celinda, Braylon, Katya, their lawyers, their friends, even Celinda's sister in California, pleading for reason. He didn't answer any of them. Instead, he called Esperanza. I did it. I chose myself. Good, she said simply. Now the real healing can begin. Outside, a gentle rain began to fall. Nashville's baptism. Merrick watched it wash Music City clean and felt something in his chest. Not pain, not tightness. For the first time since dying on that operating table, Merrick Thornfield felt his heart beating with purpose. His own purpose. Finally. You're witnessing a man reclaim his life after death tried to steal it and family tried to sell it. If you believe in second chances and justice, subscribe now. Share this story, because Merrick's journey isn't over. The best redemption is yet to come. Don't abandon him now. He's counting on us, just like someone in your life might be counting on you.
When News Channel 5 asked Merrick why he was leaving $9 million to strangers instead of family, he didn't speak. He just held up his phone and played a voicemail. His wife, recorded during his surgery, asking the hospital to call back when it's over, one way or another. 22 million people would watch a man's heartbreak on live television. 3 weeks had passed since the exodus. Merrick's incision had faded from angry red to pink. He could walk 3 miles now along the Stones River Greenway. He could sleep without pills. He could wake without wondering why he'd bothered to survive. The call from News Channel 5 came on a Tuesday. Jennifer Chen was an investigative reporter who'd heard about his story from Esperanza. Turned out they were cousins. "Mr. Thornfield, your story could help thousands of elderly people facing family financial abuse. Would you consider an interview?" Merrick thought about all the other patients in cardiac ICU, the ones whose families never came, the ones who died alone while relatives counted inheritance. Yes. The studio near the gulch was cold. Jennifer was warm. The cameras were intimidating until Merrick remembered he'd already died once. What was left to fear? "Mr. Thornfield, tell us about January 4th. So he did. The 53 seconds of death. The empty hospital room. The texts about insurance rather than love. The documents he'd found. The attempted asset grab. All of it. "Your family hasn't responded to our requests for comment," Jennifer noted. "They're not my family anymore," Merrick said clearly. Family shows up. Family holds your hand. Family doesn't Google your net worth while you're coding on an operating table. "What about your wife of 51 years? He pulled out his phone, played the voicemail Celinda had left with the hospital during surgery. "This is Mrs. Thornfield. Just call back when it's over, one way or another. I'll be at my massage appointment until 3. The studio went silent. "And your children?" He showed Braylon's business evaluation, dated before surgery. Katya's text about the Gatlinburg cabin sent while he was in ICU. "Mr. Thornfield, you've donated your entire estate to the Middle Tennessee Heart Foundation, $9 million. Why? Because they help people who are actually alone, not just forgotten, alone. They pay for medications. They provide support groups. They send volunteers to sit with dying patients who have no one. They do what families should do." "Any regrets?" He thought about it. "Yes. I regret taking 51 years to realize I was just a bank account with a heartbeat to them. I regret every Predators game I missed to earn money they'd spend without thinking. I regret not seeing my worth beyond my net worth sooner." What would you tell others in your situation? Death doesn't lie. When you're dying, you see who shows up and who shows their true colors. Pay attention. The life you save might be your own. The interview aired that evening. Merrick didn't watch. He was at Joaquin's daughter's quinceañera at a hall in Antioch, teaching her little brother to play chess on the set he'd bought him. But Nashville watched. Tennessee watched. By morning, the interview had gone viral. The text started at 6 a.m. Celinda, how dare you humiliate us publicly, you vindictive bastard? Braylon, Dad, this is defamation. We'll sue. Katya, I can't show my face at the country club. You've ruined my life. But there were other messages too. Thousands. From strangers who'd been forgotten in hospitals. From children who'd watched parents die alone. From nurses like Esperanza who'd held the hands family members should have held. One stood out. William Thompson, 84, dying of cancer in Memphis. Mr. Thornfield, I'm leaving my estate to the same foundation. My kids can't find time to visit, but already have my farm listed. Thank you for showing me I'm not crazy. I'm not alone. Dr. Nakamura called. Merrick, I watched your interview. I need you to know, in 30 years of cardiac surgery, I've seen maybe 5 families like yours could have been, the ones who camp in waiting rooms, who pray in chapels, who fight over who gets to stay overnight. 5 out of thousands. That's heartbreaking. That's why what you're doing matters. That afternoon, Merrick got an unexpected visitor. Harrison Blackwater stood at his door with a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle and a grin. You magnificent bastard! 4 other clients called today, want to restructure their wills after seeing your interview. They sat on Merrick's back deck, watching the sunset over Percy Priest Lake, sipping bourbon that tasted like redemption. Celinda called me, Harrison said, wanted to know about contesting the will. And I told her to watch the interview again, pay attention to the part where you mention her hidden credit cards. She hung up. They laughed. Not cruel laughter, but the kind that comes from surviving something that should have killed you. You know what the funny thing is, Merrick said. I would have given them everything, gladly, if they just loved me, actually loved me, not my wallet, me. They don't know what they lost. Yes, they do. That's why they're so angry. They know exactly what they lost. $9 million and a man who would have died for them, literally did die for them, but they only care about the first part. As darkness fell, Merrick felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: pride. Not in what he'd built or earned, but in what he'd chosen. He'd chosen himself. He'd chosen truth. He'd chosen to make his death mean something more than a payday for people who couldn't bother to hold his hand while his heart stopped. Tomorrow he would visit the foundation, meet the people his money would help. But tonight he would sit with his friend, drink good bourbon, and watch the lake that had witnessed everything: his youth, his love, his death, his rebirth. Merrick's story is almost over, but thousands more are just beginning. If you believe that love should be unconditional and presence matters more than presence, please subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to know they're valued beyond their bank account. The final chapter awaits, and it's going to restore your faith in second chances. Don't leave now. Merrick's redemption is yours too.
6 months after dying for 53 seconds, Merrick Thornfield stood at the Grand Ole Opry House before 4,400 people, holding a check for $9 million. But when the spotlight found a young man in the back holding a sign that read, "Dad, I'm sorry, I'm different now," that's when 4,400 hearts broke and healed at the same time. The Grand Ole Opry House glowed with soft light. The foundation had rented it for their biggest gala ever. Merrick adjusted his tie, the same one he'd worn to Katya's wedding, though it fit looser now. 20 pounds lighter, but somehow heavier with purpose. "Ladies and gentlemen," the foundation's director announced, "our keynote speaker tonight needs no introduction. His story has touched millions. His generosity will save countless lives. Please welcome Merrick Thornfield." Standing ovation before he spoke a word. Merrick gripped the podium, overwhelmed. In the audience, Dr. Nakamura and his team, Esperanza and the cardiac nurses, Dimitri and his family, Joaquin, recovered now with his wife and children, Beth from the coffee shop, even Darius, the Uber driver who'd helped him up those 17 steps. But in the back row, almost hidden in shadow, holding that handmade sign, Braylon. Merrick began. 8 months ago, I died. For 53 seconds, my heart stopped. But I'd been dead for years before that. Dead to my own worth, dead to what real love looked like. It took actual death to wake me up to life. He told the story again, but differently this time. Not with anger, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the death that revealed truth, for the loneliness that taught him solitude, for the abandonment that showed him real family. The foundation has asked me to announce something tonight. Thanks to your generosity and several estate donations inspired by recent events, we're opening the Merrick Thornfield Cardiac Family Center. It will provide housing for families of cardiac patients who travel for treatment. No one should recover alone. No one should die without a hand to hold. More applause. In the back, Braylon lowered his sign, wiping his eyes. After the speech, Merrick mingled. Survivors shared their stories, families thanked him. The foundation announced that 7 more major estates had been pledged that month alone, all from people who'd seen his interview. Dad? Merrick turned. Braylon stood there, 30 pounds thinner, wearing a thrift store suit that reminded Merrick of his own first job interview. Hello, Braylon. Can we talk? They stepped onto the terrace. Nashville sparkled below, the Batman building lit up like a beacon, Broadway pulsing with neon life. I saw the interview 37 times. Mom made us watch it once. Then I watched it again and again and again. Merrick waited. That text I sent about the business? You were dying and I was thinking about buyouts. What kind of son does that? A son raised to value the wrong things by a father who taught him that love meant providing things instead of presents. Don't excuse it. I'm not. I'm explaining it. Your mother and I, we built a relationship on transaction, not connection. You learned what you were taught. I pulled out an envelope, worn from handling. I wrote you a letter every day for 6 months. This is all of them. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed you to know. Merrick took the envelope, thick, heavy, with words unsaid for years. How's your mother? Living with her sister in Scottsdale. The divorce was finalized last month. Divorce? From you. Quick and quiet. She got the Tesla and her freedom. That's all. And Katya? Married a tech guy. Moved to Austin. Pretends she's an orphan. Easier that way, I guess. They stood in silence, watching the city breathe. I'm in therapy, twice a week, learning about emotional intelligence, attachment, things I should have known. I dream about those 53 seconds, wonder what you saw, wonder if you looked for us in the darkness. I did. And? I saw exactly who we all were. The truth doesn't hide in death. I'm teaching now. Inner city kids in North Nashville. Contract law for nonprofits. Making $40,000 a year, and it's the richest I've ever felt. Merrick studied his son. Really looked at him for the first time in years. The arrogance was gone. The calculation had softened into contemplation. I'm not asking for forgiveness or money or anything. I just wanted you to know. You dying woke me up to living. I'm trying, Dad, to be better, to be real. Merrick felt his reconstructed heart doing something unexpected, softening. Not fully, not naively, but enough. Sunday dinners. Just dinner. No expectations, no inheritance talk. Just dinner. Really? Every Sunday, 5 o'clock. You bring dessert. I don't cook. Learn. I did. They shook hands. Formal, careful, but real. The gala continued inside. Merrick gave another speech about second chances, about choosing your family, about the difference between dying and being dead while alive. He didn't mention Braylon was there. Some stories were still being written. Later, as Merrick drove home in the truck he'd bought to replace the one Celinda sold, he thought about hearts. How they could stop and restart. How they could break and heal. How they could close and, maybe, carefully open again. His phone buzzed at a red light. A photo from Braylon, him at Kroger, holding a cookbook titled Southern Desserts for Beginners, looking confused but determined. Merrick smiled. Maybe redemption wasn't just about choosing yourself. Maybe it was also about giving others the chance to choose better, to choose differently, to choose you for who you were, not what you were worth. 8 months ago, Merrick Thornfield had died for 53 seconds. Tonight, under the Tennessee stars that had witnessed everything, his youth on the Cumberland, his first kiss on the pedestrian bridge, his death, his betrayal, his glorious rebirth, he was finally, fully, magnificently alive. And somewhere in North Nashville, a son was learning to bake his father's favorite chess pie, one careful measurement at a time.
You've just witnessed a complete journey of death, betrayal, and redemption. If Merrick's story moved you, changed you, or reminded you what truly matters, please subscribe. Share this with everyone who needs to remember that it's never too late to choose yourself, never too late to demand real love, never too late to start living. Merrick survived death and family betrayal to find his truth. Your subscription helps share stories like his, stories that save emotional lives, not just physical ones. Don't let this story end here. Click subscribe, hit the bell, and be part of a community that believes in second chances and first priorities. Merrick's watching. So are thousands of others who need to know they're not alone. Thank you for staying until the end. Now, make your choice.